Hi, welcome back to my channel. Yesterday I had a chat with a new friend of mine, March, over on her channel, INFJ versus the World. She agreed we'd go ahead and post it on both of our channels. So I'll put a link to her channel in the description below. Go ahead and click on that and check out her page. She's got a lot of good content. Subscribe. And I'll just get into the chat right now.
Okay. Hi everybody. Thank you very much for joining me here on my channel today. So I'm here with Kevin, who is a fellow MBTI community guy. So we are here talking about INFJ struggles and some of the things that we experience in relation to our inferior functions, and also some of the things that comes along with being an INFJ really. Where do you want to start?
Well, I'll just say hi. Thanks for having me on your channel. It's going to be nice chatting with you about
Yeah,
all this
absolutely.
stuff. I guess, do you want to just start talking about our functions, like demon functions
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
and animals?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's easy that we're both INFJ, so we got
Yeah.
the same kind of issues.
Yeah.
I guess the first demon function is TI.
Okay.
I guess for me, I have sort of a weird case where in objective personality, with the animals and everything, they have like the activation on the functions. My TI is single activated
Okay.
because I have sleep last.
Yeah.
So, but see, I'm gonna have to talk about. I have social anxiety, so that has kind of forced me to. So how I'm seeing it is my extroverted functions and my extroverted animals, blast and play, are things I've suppressed because of the anxiety.
Right.
And I'm doing the blasting and the playing inside of my mind. I'm not really interacting a lot with the outside world,
Right.
which is strange. But so for me, the TI is something that I use for my job a lot.
Right.
I'm a computer programmer, so I'm in my head, writing code and figuring out how to solve coding problems. So I'm in my head all the time and suppressing those extroverted functions in animals. So TI for me is not really a big deal.
Okay.
And it's masculine, which I guess is, kind of pushy and, hard with the facts and stuff. So and I'm lucky in that I don't feel like it's much of a problem for me, but
Okay.
some of the saviors are actually problems.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about TI for you?
Yeah,
What's that like?
that's quite interesting that you would say that, because you said that for you TI is a demon, but because you're kind of double activated on it, you're using it quite a lot. It feels like,
I'm single activated on it.
oh, okay, single activated on it.
Which is even stranger, right?
Yeah. But because you're sort of suppressing your extroverted functions, it kind of feels like you're in that space a lot of the time.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I think I had the same problem, because there was a time when I thought I was savior FE, but I think that's because my FE was masculine, and I'm really kind of like shovey on the tribe. I'm really kind of, and it's in my consciousness. It's something that I can observe. So I always thought that I was a savior FE, until I realized, I think it was like a couple of videos that I watched of like Shannon Dave talking about kind of what's the difference between the demon state and the savior state, and I realized that I was demon when it felt like, of course I was consciously aware and aware of other people's values and what other people are feeling and things like that, but it wasn't in a state where I was kind of like in a flow state or in a helpless state. It's usually something that I'm quite resentful of, to be honest.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, although I'm experiencing it, I'm experiencing FE, I don't want to. I hate it. I'm resentful of it, and it just feels like a burden. Yeah.
Same.
That's
I was thinking I was lead TI because it seemed like the FE was so far down that it had to be a demon.
Yeah.
But I was really actually suppressing it. But
yeah,
it's very strange.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think a lot of I think growing up as well, I think I suppressed a lot of my TI, even though it's a savior. And I think that's just because maybe because of like, you know, how I grew up and sort of culture and things like that. It's like, it's more of a community type thing, and individuality is not really something that's encouraged a lot of the time. So I think naturally in the environment that I grew up in, I had to sort of suppress that TI. So I always thought that I was savior FE just because I'm conscious, but it was actually something that I was conscious of in a demon state. So it's quite...
It almost sounds like we should have been in opposite, you know, because I think me having NIFE was as a male. I grew up in a little like religious kind of cult almost.
Right.
I don't think a little boy with blast play, you know, and NIFE was acceptable to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
My parents, my family, the church people. I think very young I started realizing when I'm being myself with these people, they don't like it. So I need to hide that. And that's, I think, how I got the social anxiety going.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting, actually. I think there's something in sort of how you grew up in the environment that you grew up in, and sort of, you know, suppressing things, because with the TI, because it's naturally a masculine function, isn't it? Even if you have it as a feminine, which I, you know, now think that I do have it as a feminine function, but it's naturally a masculine function anyway. I think they mentioned that, David Chan.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, in my culture and stuff, being a female, and I also think I have masculine SE as well. So both quite, you know, strong functions to have a savior TI and masculine SE. So I generally kind of come across as someone who's quite masculine anyway, and that's something that I had to suppress a lot growing up, because obviously in my culture and, like, you know, gender roles, traditional gender roles and things like that. So yeah, it's a lot of suppression going on, and I think that contributed to me not realizing that, you know, actually FE might be a demon for me, just because I just had to suppress that TI. I just had to kind of not be in tune, I guess, with what I wanted, and more focused on, you know, what was best for everybody else and what was best for other people. It's quite interesting.
Makes sense. Yeah, very. So we both have demon SE then, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Masculine, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
In me, it's actually double activated because of the play and the and the consume. But I'm doing all of the play up here. I am consuming. You know, I read a lot and listen to a lot of podcasts and watch videos and stuff. So I'm taking in a lot, but I do notice that I skip over the sensory a lot.
Right.
When I'm out walking around or doing things, I'm in my head most of the time. I'm not actually paying attention to the details. I miss so much. I hear people saying things that I feel like I should know because I was there. And they were there, but I didn't see any of it. I don't remember it. I need to get out of here and pay more attention to what's going on. The struggle I'm having, for sure. Yeah,
I definitely had that struggle growing up. I think, you know, I think the older I've gotten as well, the more kind of like my extrovert sensing is trying to come out, I guess. I feel like where I am right now, I'm in a very kind of extroverted sensory sort of zone. And before, when I was younger, I think that function was really underdeveloped. So I was kind of like in the NI zone a lot, missing information, like you said, not paying attention to details. That was something that used to hit me over the head a lot. Not being able to remember things. So I don't know if that's kind of, I don't know, the older you get, the more you start to develop that demon function, or because I'm finding now that it's kind of, it's more kind of like prominent, that demon function, and I'm, you know, actively trying to engage with that function. I can see the masculine in that I'm so fixated on small details. When I was younger, you know, I used to let the details go and I used to skip over them, but even if I, you know, latched onto something, I would hold on to it tight. Whereas now it's kind of like I hold on to it tightly, and I'm finding that I'm not missing as many details because I'm actively engaging that extrovert sensing function.
That's really good. That's good. Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it's like as you grow older, the more that you engage with that function, the less.
I noticed I used it more when I was younger.
Right.
before because it was before the internet. We didn't have all these distractions.
Of course, yeah.
Um, I used to remember phone numbers. People would just tell me their number, and I would just remember it instantly.
Yeah.
I didn't have to write it down. I can still recall numbers from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I do focus on it, I'm good at the sensory. It's just I'm stuck up here all the time. So
Right.
I need to start forcing myself out and paying attention, stuff like that. So
Right. So that means that you have masculine and I, right? So how does that sort of
it's
play
the
out?
other way. It's the
Oh,
other
okay.
way.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have masculine sensory.
I have masculine sensory,
Right.
right?
Okay. Right. Do you find that with the feminine NI, do you find that it's hard for you to stick to sort of an idea? Because I know in the MBTI community, like within the intuitive function, it's we have this perception that INFJs are sort of supposed to be idealistic and very strong, and they hold on to their ideas once they get it. But I don't find that at all. I don't find that but I mean, my ideas change as with the times, with the winds. I can't stick to an idea long enough.
I'll tell you how it is with me. Well, before I got my official type from Objective Personality, I thought the intuition and the sensing both seemed masculine.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really hard time deciding. They both seemed really pushy and shovey. So, but for me, I'll take ideas in
Mm-hmm.
and sort of live inside of it and see, okay, where are the edges here? Where's the flaws? So I'll just entertain it, not believing it, but just I'll take it in and think about it and just sort of play in there and say, no, it's not good over here. It's not good over there, and get rid of it. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm very flowy in that sense that I can try it and just see how it fits, and then get rid of it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't care. I'll get rid of it like that. It's nothing to get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I have the same. I think Dave mentioned once about I think he was explaining it with his TI and with his TE, sorry, and he was talking about how an idea, he'll pick up an idea, he'll run with it for a second, and then something new will come up. I feel like that's how I experience my NI. It's like I'll pick up an idea and I'll be with it for a second, and then but I can just discard it with a drop of a hat when something sort of new comes in, and it's like, I don't know, it's like I'll run with it for as long as I need to, but I'm very flowy with it in the sense that I'm not going to hold on to it if it turns out to be something.
It could have a little bit to do with I have the masculine TI, which when they're interacting, it could be that the masculine TI would maybe be a little bit stronger and not quite get rid of things quite as fast.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
I get stuck thinking about the logic of it a lot. Like, does this logically make sense?
Yeah.
I'll get rid of it when I realize it doesn't quite make sense, basically.
Yeah. I think I do the same as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could become fixated on, like if I'm interested in a topic or something and I'm really fixated on trying to figure out how it works and how, as much of what I can sort of figure out about it and things like that, and I'll get stuck. But then I'll give it up if once I've had enough, or once I've established my understanding of that thing, or if it's just like if it's not working anymore, then I'll just kind of throw it away, I guess. But I can always come back to it. I always still want to come back to it, but I can just put it down, if that makes sense.
I do the same, yeah. Sometimes if I can't quite solve that puzzle, I'll put it over here until I get something new. And I'm like, oh, yeah, go back to this. And I do this all the time, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And objective personality and all this typology stuff in general is kind of one of those things where you're trying to see how everything fits. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Same, yeah. Definitely.
I think it definitely helps to just put something away for a second and just go do something else. And then once you've kind of get a new perspective, come back to it and see it in a different way and try to figure it out that way. I definitely do that with a lot of projects and ideas and things like that.
It definitely helps when you get stuck to put it aside and put it out of your mind. You'll be doing something and all of a sudden it comes to you and you're like, oh yeah. And then you go back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned before about sort of struggles with other functions. So other people's function, not just sort of the INFJ stack. What's your experience with that?
Just briefly, there's mainly one function that other people have that I struggle with. It's not their problem, but it's my problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
when people are using extroverted thinking around me and they're bouncing ideas around. I've noticed in the past what I'm doing in my head is I'm coming up with a TI idea.
Yeah.
And I'm connecting that idea to me, and I place a lot of, importance on it.
Yeah.
And I give it out there, and then the people in the group don't like it and reject it. And I feel like they've rejected me.
Right.
And then I'm like, why am I even taking part in this discussion?
Right.
But I need, that's a me problem. I'm connecting too much to that idea that I just gave them. And I'm taking it personal when they reject it.
Yeah.
I need to work on being less, clingy to that idea. Throw it out there, and if they reject it, that's fine. They're not rejecting me, but so I get that that's a problem that I have to work on, is being more relaxed in those situations with other people thinking.
Yeah, I think that would work for any sort of any function that's introvertedly charged, because a lot of the introverted functions is, things that are personal to you.
Right,
I'm sure if an FI, was to have, something that they feel passionate about, and then, somebody was to discard it or dismiss it quite easily, I'm sure they would feel, because it's personal to you, it's your idea, and you obviously want to spend a lot of time engaging in that function. So it's understandable that anybody with sort of a function that's introvertedly charged would feel, would take that personally, because, they always say that it's a subjective, it's personal to you, it's personal to your identity. So I understand. Sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Do you have functions like that?
Yeah. I struggle a lot with FI functions.
Okay.
And I think this makes me question, whether the FE is a masculine. This is because I think I will get typed at some point, because I have gone back and forth trying to figure out, what I am. But this is one of the things that makes me question whether my FE is masculine, is a savior or a demon. But I think with FIs, because in my experience, a lot of the FI people around me, they can be quite kind of attached to what they're doing and things that they find interesting, and a lot of the time, sometimes if other people have other interests that are outside of their kind of FI spectrum, it's easy for them to sort of disregard what other people are offering or what other people are bringing to the table. So with me, with my FE, I'm kind of observing that this person needs to engage with the tribe more, and then needs to kind of be considerate of what's going on around them, but they kind of want to focus on sort of what they find of value and what they find interesting. And it makes me sad, and it makes me a bit butthurt sometimes, because I just feel like, I want to share this with you, I want you to share it with other people. So I find FI the most difficult to engage with.
So the difficulty that you're having with that is that, are you seeing them as like violating some tribe value? Like you want the tribe to be interacting and they're not, so you're having an issue with that? Their refusal to join in?
Yeah. Their refusal to join in, not just with the tribe, but with things that I find interesting as well. Because I think a lot of the time they can be quite, well, the FIs in kind of my life, it seems like they're more consumed with what's in their field of interest, and they spend a lot less time trying to engage with things that I find interesting or things that other people find. And I really struggle with that, because I want them to be involved with me and other people as well, just because I feel like I would do the same. I would try and take in other people's perspective and take in other people's interests. So I kind of feel a bit butthurt if
I get that.
Yeah. Sure. I'm not explaining this well, but yeah.
No, you're doing great. Yeah. I've had the same thoughts. I think for me, so maybe it is a difference there with masculine and feminine, because I see it and it bugs me, but I can easily let it go.
Okay.
I don't keep it.
Right. Okay.
Something
That's quite interesting. So maybe it is a masculine feminine thing. So it's like I can't let it go because the masculine FE and it's kind of violation,
Maybe
whereas
so. Yeah.
yours is kind of like more flowy. So
I think so.
right,
I was thinking it was masculine for a long time. Well, this last week before I actually got my type, because I had
yeah,
watched a lot of videos where they were typing people that had demon masculine FE,
yeah,
and I really was relating to them. They were saying their annoyance to people,
right,
but I wouldn't. I would hold it in, but I would want to say it. But
yeah,
then I
okay,
do let it go fast. That is,
right,
it's hard to see somebody letting something go like that. You don't really notice it, but they would have to tell
yeah,
you, you know.
yeah. That's quite interesting. I actually envy that because I think one of the things that I struggle with the most is letting go of tribe violations. It's very,
Mm.
very hard for me to, once I see somebody has kind of messed somebody up or kind of gotten in someone's way or not being considerate in general, I find it very, very hard to forgive that or to let it go.
I have a hard time forgiving it.
Mm,
I would agree with you there, but
okay.
I do. I don't stew over it inside.
Right. Okay.
I'll remember it. I'll be like, that's that person that did this thing to that guy, and I don't like them because of that. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like thinking about it all the time. It's just when I see them, I'll be like, oh yeah, he does these kinds of things to people.
Mm-hmm.
He's not part of my tribe. But
Right. Okay. That's quite interesting. Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to ask you actually is so with, I don't know what it's like with Savior DEs or Savior FEs. So one of the things that I struggled with the most is kind of is like anger issues, like internally, just and one of the videos that Dave and Chan did about kind of FE demon FE was kind of not being able to express your feelings or not being able to, I guess, resisting the FE, and that kind of manifests as kind of like anger. And that's one of the things that I struggled with my entire life
mm-hmm.
is resisting sort of FE because obviously it's a demon and that sort of manifests as like anger. It's like I have control. I find myself feeling angry all the time and it's very unsettling and it's something that I can't control, something that I'm trying really hard to kind of like shove it in a TI box,
Right.
but it just wants to come out.
That does sound like it's probably masculine then, and a demon. But
Right.
I'm still new with all this, so yeah,
Yeah.
don't take my word for it. But um, I have a condition, I guess you would call it. It's called alexithymia. It's like emotional blindness, but it's
Yeah.
in. I don't see my own emotions in the moment when they're happening, and
Right.
I don't label them, and then I don't save them in memory to recall later.
Yep.
So it's not something that I keep, So if I do get angry in the moment, I don't really notice. I mean, I don't label it. Obviously, if you caught me in that moment and said, "What are you feeling right now?" I could probably tell you that it's anger, but I'm not actually labeling it in my own mind and saving it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that I'll sit and think later about. Oh, I'm so angry at this person. It's gone as soon as I'm out of the situation. So
Okay.
it's a strange thing to have
Mm.
FE and not actually do the emotion thing that much, but it's
So
strange.
I think with the anger, it's not necessarily that I know what I'm angry at. I think the anger is just a byproduct of me resisting the feelings. So it's like I'm trying so hard to shove the feelings and not to shove kind of like what I'm feeling in a TI box because
right.
feelings just I don't want to feel them. I don't want these chemicals, you know.
Because you're not responsible for it because it's
I'm
a
not.
demon.
Yeah, but
Oh,
because
okay.
yeah, but because I experience them anyway, it's like the byproduct of that is just feeling angry all the
Wow,
time.
yeah, that would be hard. Yeah.
It's really hard. It's yeah,
Yeah, I wonder if like finding an outlet for that somehow, a safe like boxing or something where you could get frustration out,
yeah, absolutely.
sort of release it.
That was one of David Shan's suggestions. Actually, they said that when you have, especially when you have demon FE, is like finding a safe way to kind of express yourself.
That makes
And
sense.
I definitely have found that definitely works because before I just refused to show that I had any feelings or express any feelings, and I always found that I was really, really extremely angry all the time. But I found that even just communicating, and it doesn't have to be with the same person, just
Right.
communicating how I'm feeling, just even if I post it or something, or even if I speak to someone I'm never going to speak to again, just communicating how I feel it kind of releases that tension. And I don't find that I struggle with anger anymore now that I'm kind of expressing myself, I guess, and talking about how I feel and blasting, I think. So definitely, yeah, I think suppression is the worst thing.
It's terrible. Yeah, I've done it my whole life. So I'm just in the last 10 years started to get out of my head, and I need to learn the right way to do these things like blasting and play. I'm still shaky on all that. It's, a process of trying to do it and failing and learning and trying again and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So with your demons, I mean, is there anything that you find that you like about your demons, or anything that you appreciate about your demons?
Well, I mean, I like my TI a lot. I've sort of gotten into, I'm a computer programmer, so I went into a field where I'm using my, reasoning skills and NT kind of stuff. And I do puzzles. I do a lot of, thinking, logic, reason kind of stuff. So I like that about it. Yeah, but it's not much of a demon for me. So it's because I've spent my whole life like focused on it to hide the extroverted stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. The extroverted sensing is probably more of a demon just because I skip over it and don't ignore it so much. I mean, what I like about it is, it's a powerful function that, for memory and, all that sort of stuff. Being able to remember facts and dates. I'm really good with dates. My wife will quiz me on movies when we're watching something. She'll be like, what year was it? And I'll think, okay, it happened when I was living here and then we were gone here or something. And I can almost get the exact date of a lot of stuff like that. So
that's superpower.
One way that I'm using it.
Yeah.
It's not anything I could, use but so I like it in the sense that it is powerful.
Yeah, that's a superpower.
I think if you can focus energy on staying out of here and doing things in the physical world and staying focused during that would be a good way for me, at least, I think, to help work on that. And then interacting with people like this and paying attention when the other person's talking, focused on the person, the play energy, I guess. I don't know. I'm still learning this stuff. I'm just
absolutely. No, that sounds good. Yeah, I
definitely. How about for you with SE? Have you thought about your struggles with it? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely find it easier to work on, which is ironic actually, since it's the fourth function. I definitely find it easier to work on Demon SE than I find it easier to work on Demon FE. So I'd say kind of my struggles with SE haven't been as chaotic as my struggles with FE. Just because I feel like with FE it's a lot of chemicals and a lot of there's a lot of traumatic experiences when it comes to kind of being present with your feelings and other people's feelings. Whereas with SE it's more just about kind of being present with what's going on. And I definitely do find that as an INFJ, I think SE is just a beautiful function to have. I think just being able to, obviously you have that NI where you can kind of forward think and kind of observe patterns. Just kind of being able to come out of your kind of head and experience the world and just take it all in. I think it's a beautiful function to have, which is weird since it's a demon and it's the last function.
I know. But that's good. It's good to see the positive and negative sides of things, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
So do you know what your animal stack is? I mean, do you have a guess?
I have a guess, yeah. So I think first is sleep, and then I think it's blast, and then consume, and then it's play. Yeah. So blast second. Okay. I think that's probably why
that makes sense.
Yeah. Savior FE. Yeah, because blast second. But definitely double activated on the TI with the sleep and the consume. Okay. So I think I'm more attuned to my TI more than anything else. That's one that I'm that's readily accessible, and that's the one that I see the most. And that's the one I think that I consciously aware of the most is the TI, just because it's obviously double activated, so it's always there.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my guess.
So you seem like you're good at play. Would you consider that your play is pretty good, being fourth?
That, I think my play is only good because I'm starting to actively try to work on it. If we had this conversation like 2-3 years ago, I was tired all the time. I had no energy. I didn't want to get up. I was like, my biggest problem has been exhaustion and feeling tired.
Wow.
And I think because since OP and since studying OP, I've become really obsessed with that play function, because it's something that I'm fascinated with anyway. I always wanted to be that person who, was able to get things done and to get moving and to start going, but I couldn't because I had no energy, and I really struggled with that. And I think so OP has really helped me to get over that, and for me to be able to manage. So I feel like I have more energy now. But if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to do this course.
Right. I'm the same way. I could do it in my head, but then to actually do it, I would have been terrified. And I think with the social anxiety, I was doing it up here and playing out the whole conversation thing back and forth. And then seeing it go badly, my intuition was like, this is going to end in, I'm going to be embarrassed, I'm going to look stupid, all that sort of talk. Then when you just give that up and just try it, do it, and stop obsessing about what's going to happen, just let it happen. If you fall down, just get up, That's what I'm trying to do, at least.
So with that kind of idea of not saying how you feel because you think you're going to look stupid, I wonder how that kind of plays out based on kind of if it's demon or savior, because I definitely do have that kind of insecurity of looking stupid, but it's less of I'm not going to say anything because I'll look stupid, and more of I want to say something so I don't look stupid, if that makes sense.
Oh,
so you don't think I'm stupid.
Yeah.
It's like sorry.
It could have something to do with the modality. That might be it. I'm not sure. But for me, I grew up with a lot of like emotional, psychological abuse from my family. And when I finished high school, I definitely thought I was not bright, not very smart. And my first year in college, one of my teachers wanted me to take an IQ test because I didn't want to get up in front of people and speak. And he thought maybe I was dyslexic.
Okay.
And I don't know why he thought the IQ test would tell him anything about that. But so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And I went with the guidance counselor, and she had me sit there, and I did the test with her. And I scored, like, I don't want to peacock or anything here, but off the chart. And it blew my mind. I couldn't understand how I could actually be smart, because all my life I was basically told I was a dummy, stupid.
Okay.
And so I think I just that added to my social anxiety and the fear of just speaking and being perceived as dumb. And then I got to one point in life, and I was just like, I know I'm smart. I'm hiding all of this extroverted energy. I need to start trying to figure out how to get it out.
Yeah.
Stop hiding from everyone, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's probably where my fear of looking stupid comes from, is all that.
Right. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Sounds like a very, very horrible environment to grow up in.
Yeah. I've, processed all that, I think. So it's good.
Yeah. And I definitely think the OP system is a really good system. I feel like it saved my life anyway.
Definitely, yeah.
In a lot of different areas.
For sure.
So it's good. It's definitely good. Okay. So in terms of saviors, so we talked a lot about demons. So in terms of saviors, so there's a lot of talk around how saviors are addictive and sugar rush, or kind of like a high. I mean, is that your experience with the saviors?
NI for sure.
For
sure. I think it, in a way, it sort of saved me, escaping into my head, which was a bad thing, but it did I was trying to protect myself, I think, by being in my head, using intuition. And so I can see a negative side for sure, because I got lost in my head, basically. But it did protect me in a way. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I still need to process some of that, I think, of
Mm-hmm.
being up there all that time and trying to get out, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been using it all the time, clearly, but I haven't really focused on the positives and negatives about it so
Mm-hmm.
much yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because initially I thought I was ISTP, so I thought I was TI, and I thought I was a jumper, so I was jumping to the NI,
Mm-hmm.
but that wasn't the case, apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really know much about it. What do you have to say about NI for you? I'd like to hear.
Um, I, I feel like where I am right now, I'm less conscious of my NI at the moment. If you'd have asked me a couple of years ago, like I said, I'm more conscious of my SE right now because I'm trying to actively work on that.
Right.
So I feel like my NI has just kind of slipped to the wayside, but definitely growing up, it felt like that was my cocoon. It felt like that was my safe haven. It felt like because everything outside in the extroverted world for me, it used to knock me out all the time. And NI was just like my cocoon.
Right.
And it was where it didn't feel like a high. It felt more like a safe haven.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, it's like my
Sure.
nesting place.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
Yeah. I feel like I get more of a high from the TI, especially when I'm doing something or I'm trying to consume and I'm really interested. And once I figured out how it works, I feel like I get more of a high from the TI than I do the NI.
I see that for sure. Yeah, I love solving puzzles and getting to the end, and you maybe feel a little bit proud of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to use that word. Like
Yeah.
I was smart enough. I figured this out.
Exactly.
Pat myself on the back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see that.
I can relate. Yeah. It's like once you start to understand, you're like, yeah, I get it. I'm genius kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if that's an ego thing, but yeah.
Probably a little of both.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Did you have any other questions?
I can't really think of anything else.
Hmm.
It's been great chatting.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's nice to talk about these things in a nice environment where we're keeping it positive, and I appreciate that for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't get to do this a lot because there's not many people in the MBTI community in the UK, so it's kind of nice to connect with people who are really interested in it. So it's a nice environment.
How long have you been interested in like typology and all that?
So I started coming up to 3 years ago now, but I think in terms of OP, I think it's maybe a little under 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I started off just generally.
When did you join the class? Was that?
October, November, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I joined the class, but I had been subscribing to their YouTube channel for a while before I finally thought, you know what, there's more I can get from this.
Right. Yeah. I jumped into the YouTube and consumed a bunch of their stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I want the stuff you have to pay for behind the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. I needed more. Sure. Gather, consume.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, how long have you been?
I joined at the end of February, I think.
Of this year?
Of this year, yeah.
Wow.
So not very long.
Wow, that's quite interesting because you sound like you've been studying this for quite a long time. You sound like you're quite.
In the last fall, I was talking with my niece, she just graduated with a degree in psychology.
Oh, brilliant.
And I was asking her about MBTI because that was kind of the main one I knew most about. I hadn't really known much about it, but I wanted to see what her take was because she's in psychology and all that, and if they had talked about it in school. And she's like, she just kind of shot me down like it's. She didn't have respect for it, and so I was like, I want to understand it better, MBTI, because I want to understand why her teachers probably have told her it's whatever. So I started looking into it, and then I kind of found OP through that, and I started seeing the subjectivity of MBTI and the limitations, I guess, with the 16
Absolutely.
types. Because I turned out to be that glass lizard that they talk about, where my fourth function is double activated. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was taking all the tests, I never really fit into any of the categories.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I had my Big Five score, Big Five test, and I was comparing that because you can find like mappings between that and MBTI, and my Big Five score didn't map to any of the 16 types.
Okay.
So I was getting frustrated, and then I found about the jumpers, and I was like, I need to look more into the OP stuff because the 512, I'm like, one of those has to be my type.
Yeah.
It all makes sense why I wasn't finding the direct mapping.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I understand why your niece was kind of shoving it, because I also come from a psychology background, and psychology really wants to be a science so bad. Yeah, so a lot of the things that they teach and a lot of the things that they want to talk about has to, have a scientific basis. So MBTI with just the six, because that's how I started, with just the 16 personalities. And I would always suggest somebody who, who doesn't know anything about MBTI to start off there, and, and just kind of get a general understanding. But in terms of if you kind of looking for a scientific basis, definitely I would suggest OP. I feel like that's why I found more into this, and I have a lot more respect for OP because of the scientific and the sort of objective tracking of it, because I feel like it has more ground and more basis in sort of reality, and that's something that I was looking for, and I'm glad I found it. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the science part of it was definitely the big sort of seller for me, for sure. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I think especially with a lot of stereotypical INFJs, it's like you're supposed to be this like guru, the NF type person who's into like astrology and things, which is something that I don't resonate well with. I resonate more to like scientific type, or things that have scientific basis. So I think that's why I'm
me as well, for sure.
Yeah.
I've always been obsessed with like science and philosophy, logic and all that, mathematics. My degree's in mathematics, so.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant, yeah.
Strange for a feeler, right?
Yeah, I know. I know.
I had no idea.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's been great talking to you.
You as well.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So obviously we're in the same group, so we'll obviously catch up in the objective personality study group and talk more then.
Okay, great talking.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, and it's great talking to you.
Thank you.
I'll speak to you some other time.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.